Hello, and it's time for another edition of the Baseball Talk Radio Show brought to you by fine listeners just like yourself. Just go to our Patreon page at patreon.com/baseball, and you'll be able to sign up and sponsor our show. And hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Baseball Talk Radio Show. And Gary, I misspoke at the intro of the show. If you want to go to our Patreon page, you got to go to patreon.com/baseball talk. And then you can sign up and become a sponsor of our show. And we encourage all our listeners to do that.
And I think everybody that's listening should go to check it out to make sure that link works. What do you think, Rich?
I think that'd be a great idea. I know we both have our own Patreon pages for our individual shows that we do, Your Mets Musings, My Phillies Talk, and we'd love to have you stop over there and give us a little sponsorship. That's some of these shows have like 100 sponsors, so stop on over. It's about $1 a month. And sign up right there, $2 a month, whatever you feel comfortable with. We'd be very happy to extend some of the great shows that we can offer you and offer you better things down in the future.
And we don't make anything on this show. So, we could use your help. It does cost a little bit of money to do these shows, the space that we have to rent and that sort of thing. So anything you could do to help us out would be greatly appreciated. Even if you sent us hats or something, anything. Keurig cups, anything at all. I'm just teasing you, but no, it's a good thing. Please, if you can, we'd really appreciate it.
Yeah, because we'd like to upgrade the show, and there's several things that we have in the plans possibly, and it would be just a great thing to do. So, Gary, in the past week in baseball, we've had more changes to this great game.
Yeah, Rich, they seem to have finalized the changes that they're going to, all of them now have come out, that they're going to do this year to our great game. And we've talked about some of these with the clocks and putting a time limit on the managers. But let's just go through the list here. And one we talked about was the no pitch, the intentional walk. I think we both were kind of against it. It's not something that happens a lot, but something could happen during an intentional walk, and now we're going to take that away from the game. The next thing that is on the list that I have here is something that I know you like: the 30-second limit for managers to decide whether to challenge the play or not.
Yes, well overdue. I think this added about 20 minutes or more to games in the last year. You had guys standing around on the phone, seemed like forever, while the replay video team upstairs or wherever they are in the stadium was reviewing each play that they thought they might throw a flag on and have a replay on it. But it only makes sense to do this because some of these delays were getting kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, and there's another one that's going to be, I think, worthwhile as well as we go down the list, a little further down the list. But you're right. They stall in the dugout so they can get somebody to watch the replay, and they're not right sometimes, So, this should be good. It should be a decision made right away, and we'll see how much the pace of the game picks up from that. But the next one on the list, Rich, is a crew chief may invoke replay review for non-home run calls beginning in 8th inning instead of the 7th inning.
Okay, so that sort of delays it to the 8th inning. I guess that makes it more important for the managers to choose the correct plays to dispute possibly.
I guess so. It just key thing could happen in the seventh, so you wonder why they made this change. But we'll see how it all works out as we go through the season.
Yeah, and just to get back to the managers who have this 30-second time limit now to decide whether to challenge a play or not, we have a few interviews with different managers that have reacted to this, and the review and the reaction to this is very important. And you can see how these coaches and managers now are starting to rely on instant replay because they're a little upset at this. Let's take a listen to some of the management within the MLB and how they reacted to this.
If the point is to get the calls right, we're not going to get the calls right now. The from the manager's perspective and the replay guy's perspective, you're going to have to you're going to have to make some quick calls, and you're not going to be right.
Sometimes, looking at a play and getting the different angles and getting the different views and the slow-mo, sometimes it takes more than 30 seconds to really be able to make a really convicted call. But now they're going to have to maybe make some decisions, not getting as much information as they had the last couple of years.
I think they took the average time and trying to cut it down, went with that. But, sometimes the issue is when you get the slow-mo, and sometimes there's more angles than others depending on who's doing the game. So as of right now, I don't see that being a problem, but we'll see how it goes.
So you can hear some of the managers reacting there. Craig Counsell was first, Bud Black, and another manager
doing the game, so
did his interpretation of this. But you can see how they're relying on this super slow-mo, so to speak. They want to see something 20 times before they decide. That's the ridiculousness of it.
Yeah, and they shouldn't have that opportunity. They should have the same opportunity as the umpire has, literally. He has to make a bang-bang call. They should have to make a bang-bang call, whether they want to challenge it or not. Otherwise, look, we don't have a problem with the time of a game, but apparently Major League Baseball does. So if you allow them to do what they've been doing in the past, it's just going to drag it out. And
sometimes there's more angles than others.
Yeah, as we see, sometimes there's more angles than others. I mean, this was ridiculous the way they did this. I just can't say, even if you were sitting home watching it on television, you had the replays playing 12 times before they even notified the umpire that they wanted to dispute the call. So what they wanted to do was make sure they were right before they disputed it.
And the other thing that goes along with that, and that's going to be one of the points coming up, is that this office that they have in New York City where they're watching this. Why does it take so long? They have all of these there. Get everybody that's there and say, hey, we got 4 guys. They each can watch a different replay and say, good, no good, go out, safe, whatever it is. I don't understand why the technology itself is taking so long. And they're going to try to address that, if I may. I'll go to the next point. It's a 2-minute guideline for replay officials to make a decision. I don't even see why they need 2 minutes, to be honest with you. But at least they're trying to cut that down.
Yeah, and some of these replays are very close. In the past, what was done was players lived with it. They knew that there were certain mistakes made. A guy was either out or safe, could be vice versa. And it didn't really seem to impact the game all that much. A lot of the players were very comfortable with it. A lot of the players don't even like instant replay. They'd rather play the game the way it's been played, but apparently replay is here to stay for some time. And I agree with the playoffs and things like that, and real important games, that yes, there should be a replay system, but Regular season games, I think if they wanted to cut some time down, they could probably do away with that, and it wouldn't be a travesty. It would go back to what we used to see in baseball, and your occasional blown call, but most of the time these umps get it pretty right.
Well, I'm going to slightly disagree. I don't. I can live with the replay if they speed it up and get the calls right. That's the main thing. Get the calls right because it can affect something that goes on. So I just think it's too bulky the way they do it. I don't see why. Once there's a decision made by the manager to challenge, I don't see why the crew chief and the umpire has to go to a special, walk over, and they're not looking at anything. They can have headsets, and the crew chief should have a headset on him, and it could be direct communication. I mean, I don't. That's not going to save much time, but and sometimes even close, obvious calls they drag out sometimes because they want to see it from 50 images. They show us one or two views and we can make the call at home. I don't know why it takes so long, but
Yeah, and that's part of the beginnings of the instant replay where they're gathering. They have a third party bring a telephone out to them. Basically, they're calling New York, letting them know that they have an instant replay situation. But as you said, Gary, I think the technology is there to maybe have Bluetooth microphones within the umpires. Possibly they could make the call right from where they're standing rather than leaving the field, going off to the side as they're doing right now. But maybe we'll see that in the future.
hopefully we will, but the game's evolving, and the younger managers, as you say, they're going to rely more on this because they're not the old school guys that are looking, at so closely perhaps, and they're looking at their stats and they're looking for replays and all that kind of thing. And I'm not sure that's the way I would go. And I'm very happy with, but not much else you can do about it. And next on the list is another thing that I think is totally ridiculous, but that's the prohibition of markers on the field, excuse me, that could create reference system for fielders. Mets had a game where the Dodgers, I believe, wanted to mark positions on the field so they could know where to go to play certain hitters. I mean, what happened to the coach in the dugout waving the towel? Get over 3 steps, let them keep that kind of stuff on the bench. Richie, I don't know if you remember, but pitchers used to keep a pitch count. And they used to track every pitch. The guy who was pitching the next day would keep track of every pitch that the pitcher the night before, the day before was throwing, where he threw it, who the batter was. I mean, they had all of this information. Now it's all computerized, so they don't do that anymore. Now, what do they want to do? They want to put special markers out on the field so they can computerize it. Make an X where the guy hits a ball. Do it manually like you used to do it. This putting and why can't you direct an outfielder? Are these guys so dumb that they have to have reference points where to stand, where to position themselves? I mean, I think it's getting a little too specialized. Pardon me?
Sabermetric sized.
Oh, yeah. I think that's all what's leading up to this crap. And my new favorite sabermetric thing is exit velocity. I mean, who cares?
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy in a way, but look, these are the new rules. One more to go through, and a pitcher may not take a second step towards home plate or otherwise reset pivot foot during delivery. And that's really, there's a couple of guys that take that little crow hop, and when they push off the mound, they're not even touching the plate. So they're not really 60 feet, 6 inches away. They may be 60 feet. They may be 60 feet, 2 inches away. Doesn't sound like a big deal, but when you're throwing a ball hard, that 2 inches or 4 inches or 6 inches could mean a lot. And so I don't know how they even allowed those guys. There was a guy with the Braves, and he got traded away. Don't know where he went to, that had that crow hop. And then there was another guy that had it. And I just thought it was the weirdest thing. Plus the fact that it's very distracting. So they're really outlawing that.
I'm going to have to look into that. I've never really thought about that rule, nor do I remember any pitcher that violated it. So I'm going to have to take a look to see some of those pitchers that pitch that way. But yeah, they're going to have to make that adjustment. And out of all of these rules, I think, as we talked about the last couple of shows, the no pitch intentional walk to me is the biggest change, and one that I don't think I'm going to like this season.
Yeah, I can live with the rest of them. Even the pitch clock. I don't know. I don't want a clock in baseball, but I could live with that. But the no pitch intentional walk really gets to the heart of the game, and is something that's traditionally been done. And to cut that out, I'm not in favor of that.
Yeah, over the years, we've all seen intentional walks that have gone wrong. The ball goes sailing over the catcher's head, and base runner can advance. We've seen a lot of different plays with that, from an intentional walk called, and then they change their mind at the last second, catch the batter off guard sometimes. But yeah, I don't think that was necessary, and I think it's a major change that didn't need to be made within baseball.
Well, and again, it's all of this. They want to save time, but you can do all of this. What are they going to save? A minute or 2? There's nothing that's going to save a half an hour. The thing that would save a half an hour, they'll never do, and that's all the freaking commercials that they have. That's where the length of these games come in, and all of these multiple, now it's a trip to the bullpen, and it's brought to you by that all of that stuff. Maybe they got to bring the golf carts back for the relief pitches if they want to pick up the pace of the game. I don't think so much that the pace of the game. It's the standing around, and that's directly related to the replays. That's what people get annoyed at. I don't think the regular pace of the game people are that upset about. I think it's the standing around when there's nothing going on, and you sit in the stands, and that's when it's the most not feasible. But any other time, I don't really see a problem.
Yeah, it's something that's going to be worked on, I'm sure. And with this limiting of time for the disputes and also the decisions, I think that's going to help speed things up. Well, we were talking about some different stats and sabermetrics, as we were talking about earlier, Gary, but this year they're going to have a new StatCast. And if you remember, they've used that for home runs. It instantly tells you how many feet a ball went. Well, this year they're going to have catch probability for 2017. Every outfield catch is going to be graded on distance and time. And they're also going to be able to give you a percentage of chance that the catch will be made. So just another interesting stat, so to speak. And like the home run ball, you're going to have some people that are attracted to this. A new metric, a new measurement, so to speak, of the game. And it's going to cover a lot of things, like whether or not a fielder has a good chance of of actually catching a ball. So that'll be a little interesting sideline there.
If I had an explosion the tape here, I'd put it in right now because I think my head is going to explode with all of these new stats and things. And why do they want to quantify this, break this game into? I know it's a statistically driven game. It always has been. We've always gone by the numbers, but now it's getting nuts with these numbers. Now they're trying to probability of a catch. So what happens if a guy don't make the catch? What is that? Is that going to go against him when I don't know. It just befuddles me, and love that exit velocity though. Took off at 104 miles per hour. What does that mean? What essence does that have for anything? And if somebody can tell me, please email me to what the exit velocity means, other than he swings, he's got a good bat speed or whatever. I don't know. It's just like I said, I think my head's gonna explode with all of these stats.
And with this fielding stat, it'll tell you exactly how far away a fielder was to make the catch. So for this one particular catch that they're talking about in this article in MLB.com, a fielder, Billy Hamilton, was 71 feet away from Kevin Plawecki's hit, and he had just 3.9 seconds to get there. So these stats and measurements are on the screen within seconds, and it tells you the percentage that he has to make the catch. Only a 7% chance of making that catch because the distance and the time required to get to it. And I believe he did make the catch. So, it's just something to keep some people entertained. Great catches, I guess, breaking it down by the numbers almost. And God, all I can think about is when I used to play softball and I was in center field one time and the ball was hit to me and I thought I could catch it. And, it was like 15 feet over my head, and I'll never forget that.
Yeah, that's I had the same that's why I was an infielder and a catcher, because just I had a hard time with those fly balls. But are they going to do this in real time? I mean, is this going to flash on the screen as the ball's going out to the outfielder, or what?
That's interesting. I don't know if they can actually do that, but I would assume that could be possible because in a replay situation on great catches, I guess that'll make a good sideline type of stat for people to watch. But I would think the real clinker, so to speak, would be to have it in real time. But we're just going to have to wait till we see this happen. I didn't read that in the article that they were going to do it in real time. But every outfield catch can be graded on distance and time. So they're going to have these stats up there, and going to be a little interesting for people that care for that kind of thing.
I just think they start throwing all this stuff on the screen. How you going to watch the darn play happening? You're too busy reading everything, and make it like closed captioning. You can turn it off if you don't want it.
Very good. Or, hey, for the entrepreneur out there, you could maybe add something where you could get a lot more things, make a little money off this possibly.
Okay.
Subscribe to all of that stuff. So this way we can get all the stat people and, have them have their fun, and then we'll just watch the game.
I'll go for that.
Another great idea there to make a ton of money in baseball. We want to thank our YouTube listeners for joining in and listening to the broadcast and watching the broadcast. We have now over 40 subscribers. And if you'd like to go over to our YouTube page, just search for the Baseball Talk Radio Show and click subscribe. That every time we do a show, you're going to get an email or a message in your inbox about our brand new show being available. And we thank everyone for tuning in on that as well.
And Rich, can we get to 50? Come on, guys. Everybody that's listening now or gonna listen to the audio version, go to YouTube and subscribe.
Or you might not want to if you
No, we want to get those numbers up.
I've watched certain or listened to certain podcasts, and then I watch it on YouTube, and it's just not the same to me.
You don't have to watch it. All you got to do is go subscribe.
Listen.
And listen. Yeah, you have to listen, of course. But we want you to go there and subscribe on YouTube. And Rich, we got an email this week.
Yes, we did.
From our good friend Jack Kilty. He is in Florida. He's a big Phillies fan, and he is says he's going to attend a Phillies game each day Tuesday from next week, March the 7th through the Tuesday the 14th. And he's going to send us emails about his observations at Philly spring training camp. So that'll be interesting. We'll get some spring training updates right from the source on site. And he also wanted to weigh in on the speed of the game discussion. And I guess it's apropos with what we've been talking about. And Jack says commercial breaks are the main time culprit that slows down the games. But we are talking major revenue here, so the commissioner is not going to disturb anything about that. And we've discussed that, and he's 100% on the money with that. They're not going to do anything. But he also goes on to say that he's noticed that the game moves crisply till the 7th inning, at which time you see multiple pitching changes. And to speed things along, why not limit pitches from 7 to 3 warm-ups when a new pitcher comes into the game? The pitcher should be warmed up enough throwing in the bullpen. 3 warm-ups should be enough and will give the reliever a feel for the mound. Small video help speed things along without significantly changing the character of the game that we all love. He's got a good point there, but he mentions one of the reasons why they won't probably cut down the warm-up pitches, and that is the feel of the mound. The mounds in the bullpen are different. It's a different feel than the main mound in the game, and that's really why they allow as many warm-up pitches. I don't think it's 7. I think it's 8 actually. But Jack, you make some good points. But I think that's really the key factor there. So you can get accustomed to the mound coming in from the bullpen. It is a completely different feel. Played a lot of games at a lot of different ballparks, and I can tell you there is a big difference in the mounds. So that's why they do it. But it's something to consider along the lines. And Jack, thanks so much for checking in with us, and we'll be looking forward to an email with some observations about the Phillies. I know you'll be happy about that, Rich, and maybe we can get some reports on the other teams that are coming in to play the Phillies.
Yeah, and I meant to ask Jack if he wouldn't mind if I would post some of them over at fightinphillies.com for the readers there to check it out. I know a lot of people always love spring training stories and things like that and observations. So, yeah, Jack, thanks very much, and hope you have a great time down there in Florida. Nice and warm down there now. It's perfect time to be down there. It's about 14 degrees tonight up where we're from. So you have a nice time down there in that warmth.
Yes, and think of us and send some of that sunshine back up to the Northeast. We certainly could use it.
Yes, indeed. So, Jack, have a great time down there. And Gary, part of the fun about baseball is some of the characters that are actually in the ballpark selling, and vendors and things like that. I always make a note of checking that out. I have my favorite vendors at the ballpark where I go to. And I was reading a story in the Sporting News yearbook, the baseball yearbook here, where they predict a lot of the games and show you the teams and things. And they talk about a guy that's in Baltimore, a legendary beer vendor named Clarence Fancy Clancy Haskett. They tell that he has been slinging brews to familiar faces for more than 40 years at Camden Yards, occasionally with one leg slung over a seat railing and a confident toss behind the back. In all those years, Haskett claims he's fallen only 4 times, including a 2013 run in with a broken bat slung into the stands by Chris Davis. So, this gentleman also has a record at Baltimore's Camden Yards. On opening day in 1988, he set the stadium record of selling beer by selling 40 cases. That's nearly 1,000
Holy
Frosty adult beverages. 40 cases.
Fancy Clancy, is it?
Yeah, his name's Clarence, in quotes, Fancy Clancy Haskett. A legend around Baltimore.
I mean, that's a lot of brewskis. 40 cases.
That's a lot, and that's a lot of work. A lot of people don't realize, especially these guys that aren't that young anymore. They're running back and forth with all those beers. I know they're $7, $8, $9 a piece now, but yeah, more power to them. Fancy Clancy. I remember checking out a vendor out in LA when I was out there one time, checking out a game. I don't know his name, but I took a few pictures of him years ago, and he had like 1,000 different buttons and different vending things that he was selling. Very interesting to check out the vendors, and they're actually part of the game of baseball. So check him out this summer.
Boy, it's pretty amazing. I'm still baffled by that amount of booze that he sold. I mean, that's really a lot. And here's a picture of Fancy Clancy doing his thing. But wow, that's a lot of beer slinging, Rich.
Yes, it is. That's a ton.
He's probably got more money than the owner of the Orioles. Maybe you keep selling that many a game,
Now, on the other hand, if you're watching the video here, I got a picture up. This lady you might recognize from Philadelphia, Citizens Bank Park. She's the infamous Pistachios girl. And if you remember, or if you've ever been to Citizens Bank Park, she had a very unique sound that she used to almost sing pistachios to the whole crowd as she went up and down the aisles. Now, she seemed like a nice, well-mannered gal. I've seen her over the years. Very polite, never heard a bad word out of her mouth. Well, she's been fired in the off season by Aramark. Apparently, she was doing some political things on her own time that made national news and national headlines because she's a Phillies vendor. Actually got her fired from the job that she loved to do. I mean, she's been doing it for years. A super type of personality, if you ask me, and just unbelievably been fired from her position.
She'll be back.
She'll be back somewhere, but probably not in Philadelphia.
She'll be back. The people will demand it.
I would think so. Maybe we'll see a revolt. We want our pistachio girl back in Philadelphia. Leave politics to the side. That's her own business. She didn't do anything to anybody. Let's start it here. Bring Pistachio Girl back.
There you go. And there's a campaign for you on your next Fighting Phillies show, on your Phillies talk show, and on your Fighting Phillies blog. See, I gave you a plug and giving you a campaign to get behind. Bring back the Pistachio Girl.
Doesn't get much better than that.
Boycott.
Those pistachios aren't cheap. They're $6 a bag.
There you go. But you'd rather buy it from an attractive blonde lady there than some guy with 3-day growth of beard, go, "Yeah, sure. What the hell?"
Very good. Wow, the show has devolved into pistachios this week.
We always get food in some some manner.
You can follow the show on iTunes. You can also check us out on Stitcher Radio and Podomatic.com, and of course, BaseballTalkRadio.com. It's the home of over 30 great baseball talk shows. Everything from Japanese baseball, European baseball, and across the United States, all the different teams are represented and more each day. So check it out. Gary's show is there. 2 shows, actually, plus this one. My show, Fighting Phillies, is there as well. So a ton of great baseball talk shows to listen to. And there's even a 24-hour a day, 7-day a week radio feed that plays constantly. And you can even get it in your car by the TuneIn app. It's called baseballpodcast.net. So check it out. Great baseball talk there.
And Rich, before we go, I'm wearing my World Baseball Classic qualifier hat tonight because Monday at 4:30, I think our time, Northeast time, in the morning starts the World Baseball Classic. I don't know who's playing it. They're playing in Korea. Maybe Team Israel, and I'm not sure the schedule, but the World Baseball Classic starts. So if you're interested, you can get it all on MLB TV. I don't know if the network is going to be televising the first game or what the MLB network, what their schedule is going to be, but MLB TV has it, and you can get it. Watch all the games, I believe, there for the World Baseball Classic. And it's we're not big on it in the United States, but it's big across the world, and it's interesting to see other countries now how it's growing the game and getting an interest in the game. As I said, I went to the qualifier in Brooklyn last summer, and one of the teams playing there was Pakistan, and they probably had the least professional ball players of any of the other 3 teams that were trying to qualify for this, and they got their lunch handed to them. But it was fun to see them play, the effort, and how hard they're trying and learning the game, and they played pretty darn good, I thought, considering that they have no experience at all in the game. And like I said, a lot of the other teams have ex-major leaguers, minor leaguers. Now at this round, there's going to be a lot of major leaguers playing, which is something that's a little, crazy in a way. Team Israel got there, and now all of a sudden they're adding Ryan Braun, and they're going to have this guy and that guy, and these guys weren't there when they had to qualify. So, the guys that qualified should really get a shot. But be that as it may, it's good for the sport globally. And that's how we have to look at it. And whether you like it or not, it is good for the sport globally. Hopefully, it'll grow it in other countries. I know there's a vast interest in Israel. And as I mentioned, Pakistan and Brazil, there's a strong interest. So it's really a good thing. Not sure that the major leaguers should play, but it would probably fail without having them. So that starts Monday. If you're interested, I just thought I'd throw it out there.
Yep. It's going to be a great thing. And as you said, Gary, some of these games are from different parts of the world. So naturally, the time schedules are all crazy. The first game on Monday, March 6th, starts off at 4:30 in the morning. Israel and Korea, as you said, that's 4:30 Eastern time. So you're looking at about 1:30 in the morning out in LA. So yeah, that's part of the kind of hard thing about having a World Baseball Classic starting across the other side of the world. It's going to be a little difficult to watch. Game 2 in Seoul, Korea kicks off at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, so maybe some more people can check that out. Israel and Taipei, I believe, is going to be matched up in that. And as you said, Gary, with baseball, MLB.TV, which just kicked off its 15th year. It's celebrating 15 years. One of the best bargains in watching baseball online, I think, and you can watch it on many different devices. So many that there's literally hundreds of devices you can watch it on. Brand new player for this year, only $112.99. They're going to broadcast all of the games of the World Baseball Classic live in the United States only. So if you're within the U.S., you'll be able to watch these games live right on your MLB.TV subscription. And if you haven't signed up yet, I encourage you to. Spring training games, of course, included on this as well, 300 spring training games, and of course the full schedule. And you get everything DVR'd. They're even giving you App Premium if you have a Android or Apple phone. You can take that, put it on your phone, and you get updates right on your phone with your favorite teams, your favorite players. It's just a great thing to have for the baseball fan, I think.
Yeah, certainly is good. And the only drawback is you don't get your team's home games, and that's kind of a bummer. I wish they would do that, but that's because, they have contracts with the local cable systems and whatnot. So there's that whole territorial thing. But other than that, it's a great buy.
Exactly. And they're going to have an item this year called Follow Your Team. They haven't come out with the details on it exactly, so I don't know enough to talk about it, but I think they're moving a little bit more in that direction to offer some of that capabilities. Of course, a lot of these cable companies are paying big bucks to have you watch their broadcasts and, of course, offer you their advertising during the home games. So that's part of the lure of not offering that from MLB.TV. But if you're a baseball fan in general, watching other games, it's a blessing, really. It's a great thing. So check it out there, MLB.TV. Low price of $112.99 and a whole lot cheaper than the football package.
And Rich, a lot of the teams themselves now are going to allow. I know the Mets are going to allow streaming. They will be on NBC Sports app. I don't know how they did that, or on SNY.TV. You'll be able to stream as long as you're a subscriber to the service. If you have the subscription to the service, then you'll be able to watch the games on your tablets and phones. So that's something new this year. They're going to stream it online. I know SNY, and I believe there's a few other teams that do it as well. I'm not sure if the Phillies do it, but I'm sure there's some other teams that do it as well. And that's going to be a great thing. So when you're, you'll have more fights with your wife when you're at the family barbecue, and you won't have to go into the house anymore, though, to watch the game or sneak a peek. You can just have it on your phone.
That's right. Very convenient. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in to this edition of the Baseball Talk Radio Show. We're getting some more guests lined up for this year, and we can't wait to offer you all those good things coming down the road with the podcast. Again, we encourage you, please stop by our Patreon page. That's patreon.com/baseball talk. Spell it all out. Or if you can't remember that, go over to our website. It's MLBthisweek.com. There's a link right to that Patreon page. You can check it out from there as well.
And Rich, you have a good week, and we're getting closer to opening day.
Yep. And we're getting closer to St. Patty's Day, one of my favorite baseball as well.